So here we are on the fourth and final video of the How to Recover from Rock Bottom video series. Now in this video, we're going to talk about the final stage of the process, which is to begin executing and actually working on the stuff every single day that we've already mapped out in our goals in our 100,000 foot overview that is going to drive us towards our vision of the future. Now, if you're watching this video and you haven't watched videos 1, 2, or 3, then you'll see a link in the top corner, one of these corners right now, that will take you to the first video in the playlist. It is absolutely essential that you do the videos in order. If you are, of course, watching this and you're in a difficult stage of life at the moment, maybe you're in a bit of a rut, maybe you're frustrated by things, maybe you're struggling to find something to keep on going for, the future's just not looking that inspiring, or maybe like me, you are at absolute rock bottom at the moment. So if that is you and that's why you're watching this video, then make sure you go back to the first video in the process, which is to acknowledge properly where you are and build that foundation before going on to the visionary stuff and the goal setting stuff and the strategy that we cover in videos 2 and video 3. But the idea of this video series is that you have absolutely everything that you need from the moment that you decide to take charge and actually do something about your situation, right up until the moment where you begin executing every single day of every single week on a clear plan that is going to drive you towards your ideal vision of the future every single day. All right, so this is a holistic course, if you want to call it that, but I'm not charging anything. This isn't part of some new business venture that I'm doing. I'm not getting you to opt in, or I'm not trying to sell you anything at any point. This is literally just, I'm doing this work at the moment. I'm in a rock bottom place at the moment, and I'm sharing this with you in the hope that if you're in the same space, you too can get great value and begin making real progress towards achieving your goals. So with all of that being said, let's go into the fourth and final video and talk about building your habits and your daily method of operation. Now, it might seem rather obvious to say, but once you've got your plan and you've got your strategy, and you know that each step that you achieve will eventually get you to that end result, it does mean that achieving the result is inevitable as long as you do the work every day and as long as you don't quit, as long as you don't give up. Right? If you just keep going and keep going and keep going until you achieve each step, you will eventually get there, categorically. And so with that in mind, it means that the number one reason that people don't achieve what they set out to achieve in their lives is because they quit, or it's because they don't do the work. They don't do the stuff every single day when they wake up in the morning between when they go to sleep at night. They're not doing the things that they need to do to actually work on those stepping stone steps towards their goals. So if you can recognize that and build the right habits every single day and the right daily method of operation every single day to just do the things you need to do, then success is inevitable. It really is that simple. So what are the right habits? What is the right daily method of operation? Now, everyone's different and everyone is going to both need to and want to prioritize different habits over other people. I do think there are some essential habits that everybody needs. One of those is you've got to do some form of exercise, whether that's sort of 3, 4, 5 times a week or something. It doesn't need to be full-on gym workouts. I'm doing HIIT training sessions at home, for example. I'm always shooting for 5 times per week, 5 exercises per week. But if you're in a rock bottom place and you're emotionally quite low, number one, you need the endorphins. You need the pick me up. You need to get your blood pumping. You need to physiologically, get active and get moving. The last thing you want to be doing is just, not working out, not getting any kind of emotional boost, any kind of physical boost, and then start suffering with health challenges, energy challenges, all the other stuff that comes with just not looking after your body. So I think exercise got to be in the daily habits, non-negotiable. And then meditation as well. I'm a big proponent of the value of meditation for being able to recognize and observe and remain detached from your emotions without letting them consume you. So again, if you're in a rock bottom place and you're emotionally really struggling with things, then meditation daily, and even just using like, YouTube videos, if you don't want to pay for a meditation app, if money's tight at the moment, just meditations on YouTube or something, is very, very powerful for helping you remain poised and remain aware of the fact that you are not your emotions. Your emotions are your emotions, and you will feel the way that you feel, but that doesn't need to consume you, consume your actions. And meditation will help keep that awareness, right, around the emotional difficulties that you face in a rock bottom space. Okay, so exercise and meditation, personally, I think those two are extremely essential. There's also, things like visualization, affirmations, reading, journaling, many things that people would all recommend. I'm not going to suggest that you go and try and start every single personal development growth habit that you can possibly think of in one go, because chances are it's going to be too much, and that you just jack it all in. We don't want that. So what I would recommend you do is in the habits, in this spreadsheet. By the way, if you're watching this and you don't have a copy of the spreadsheet already, somehow in the description down below of this video, you'll see a link to access your own copy of the spreadsheet. Just follow the instructions. Go to File and make a copy to add it to your Google Drive. But there's a tab there for tracking habits and also deciding what habits you want to add to the spreadsheet. Now you can use this. You can also use habit tracker apps. There's plenty of free habit tracker apps. I use one called UltiSelf. I think it was a paid app, and to be honest, they oversell it quite a bit, so I wouldn't recommend it, but I'm just using it now because I have it. But something like UltiSelf that allows you to clearly mark each day, have you done the habits that you said you would do, and then get a nice visual every single week of how well you've done. Very valuable to do that. And again, you get a dopamine hit every time you mark off another habit you've completed, and it's good to just keep giving yourself these productive dopamine rewards for doing good stuff instead of relying on dopamine from scrolling Instagram or something. You can get your dopamine from hydrating in the morning, doing a cold shower, and doing a workout. Obviously probably the workout before the shower, but you get the point, right? So building the right habits and sticking to those habits is extremely important. But like I said, when you're starting out, you don't want to try and bite off more than you can chew. So there's a book called Mini Habits by Stephen Geiss. I think that's how you pronounce his surname. And I would say this philosophy for building the foundations of strong habits is going to be very relevant for most people that are in a rock bottom space at the moment. The principle behind it is that you just do tiny habits to get started, and then you build on it from there. So if the idea of doing a workout every morning is like super daunting because you're tight for time, you're maybe not exercising at the moment, and there's resistance to starting, well, then just do one push-up in the morning. Done. You've completed your habit. You've done your push-up. Great. Now you don't need to do anything else till the next day. Next day, you've done your push-up. Great. That's basically the principle of the book. It's just begin with the absolute, utter bare minimum that you can possibly think of, and then from there begin to build once you get some momentum. And one final thing that I would say is, if you're struggling with the idea of, well, what habits should I try and adopt? What are the right ones? Think of the version of yourself that you would be in your ideal day. Right? When you wrote your ideal day, try and picture and imagine that version of yourself. Who are you? Who are you being? What are you doing? Just imagine that you are that person, and then just try to adopt the habits of that person and begin incorporating them into your life. Whatever those habits look like, whatever they are, your ideal self, that's what you're striving for. Okay, so use that as a guide stick and begin incorporating those habits. And as we do that, we can then go on to the next step in this process, 4B, which is building your daily method of operation. Now, there's a ton of different productivity and time management solutions out there. And obviously, you probably use some already, I'm sure. I'm not going to go through all the different techniques and strategies that you can use, but what I will say is that whatever you do, you need to do something so that you have a clear schedule. And within that schedule, there must be all of the things that you are planning to do as part of your 100,000 foot overview, as part of your goals that you've set in the previous step, in step 3. You've got to incorporate your habits in there. and the step that we did 1E with your time management, this is where you can start to figure out, well, when are these things going to be slotted into my schedule? And every single week, and this is, I'm jumping ahead, this is going to be step 5, but every single week, you're essentially going to plan your week ahead, and you've got to slot in, when are you going to do all these things that you say that you're going to do that you will enable you to achieve your goals? When will you do your habits? When will you do those key milestones, those stepping stones? When will you work on those alongside all your other commitments and so on and so forth in the free time that you currently have every single week, which you calculated in step 1E? Right, so hopefully you're starting to see how all of these steps, all of these parts of the process are coming together, and why it is so important to do the work properly. Because if you haven't done the stuff at the start, when you're trying to then do this stuff now and figure out what do I do each day, well, if you don't have your goals, if you don't have your stepping stones, if you don't know what free time you've got, and how can you plan anything properly and fit it into your schedule? It's just not going to work, right? So whatever you do, whatever time management or productivity system that you use, whether it's Pomodoro technique, whether it's the Motion app, whether it's just iCloud calendar. I just use iCloud, to be honest. And I just put in calendar blocks in my schedule of all the things each week that I'm going to do this week. If I need to set alerts, I set alerts. I color code for different things. You know, if I've got calls, meetings, webinars and stuff, that's one color. And then I have different colors for all the different things. But the point is that you need to develop a system that you stick to no matter what. Okay, that's 4B, the daily method of operation. You've got to plan it, you've got to use a system, develop a system that works for you, so that you plan ahead of time every single activity that you're going to do that week, which will drive you towards achieving your goals. And then the final step of stage 4, this is 4C, is that you have to find a way to minimize distractions. Because even if you've got your plan, you've got your schedule, you know the week ahead, you know when you're planning to do all of the things that you're planning to do, it's very easy in this day and age to just get distracted by, your phone pinging, or someone sends you an email that you need to act on, Instagram, whatever. Like there's a million and one different things that can mean we end up not doing the things that we say we're going to do when we're going to do them. So you've got to develop a system to help you minimize distractions, and you've got to recognize when you're being distracted and then do something about it to change that behavior in the future. So good resources to use will be things like an app blocking app. So I use something called Opal, and you can use the free version of Opal. I'll pop a link in the description down below in case you want to download this, by the way. But I use a free version of Opal, and you can set blocking sessions. So you can say, like, I'm about to do 2 hours of deep work, and you can set it to block apps that you've already predefined are distraction apps. You can also have like time limits on apps. So if you've been on an app for a certain time already per day, it will block it, so you're not overusing apps or binging on certain apps and things like that. And also just simple things like putting your phone on do not disturb when you're doing work, for example. Or setting alerts on the calendar events that you've set for your week, so that you do get a ping every time to say, hey, you need to do your workout now, and then just get in the habit of doing what the alert says to do when the alert pops up. So again, whatever you decide, whatever works for you, the key is that when it goes wrong, when you fail, right, which will happen, it's okay, we're only human, but when you fail, you have to get in the habit of going, all right, what went wrong? Did I end up in an Instagram vortex of scrolling for 45 minutes? Okay, how can I stop that happening again? And you've got to put in a system that will not rely on willpower. Because if you rely on willpower, I'm telling you now, it will fail constantly. Because if you're not feeling in the mood or energetic or on the ball, or you're just, for whatever reason, your mind is not in the right space, willpower will let you down. So you've got to systemize it. You've got to make it so that you have no choice but to just do the thing that you say that you need to do in order to achieve your goals. And a principle that I always adopt when I'm doing this kind of stuff is I look at ways to bind my future self so that I have no choice. And that's called a Ulysses contract. So the idea of a Ulysses contract came about apparently many years ago, when a sailor, Ulysses, had heard about the sirens, the mermaids, who would have this beautiful mermaid song designed to lure sailors into the rocks and wreck their ships. And not wanting to wreck his ship and kill himself and his crew, but also wanting to hear this beautiful song of the sirens, Ulysses came up with a plan so that he could do both. And that was to have his men, his sailors, bind him to the mast of the ship, and then all of the sailors had to put wax in their ears so that they couldn't hear the song of the sirens and they couldn't be lured into the rocks by their magic. And Ulysses instructed the sailors that under no condition, no matter what he said, no matter how much he kicked, screamed, like begged them, or whatever he did, they were not to untie him from the mast, and they were not to listen to his orders. And that meant that when he heard the siren songs and he was overcome with a sense of longing, of like needing to go and see them and hear them and be close to them, and he wanting to steer the ship in that direction, he'd already bound his future self so that the sailors were not going to act on his commands. Right? So this is the principle of a Ulysses contract. It's finding a way to make it so that when the time comes and you have to rely on willpower, you don't have a choice but to just do the thing that you said that you would do. So examples that I've often used in the past are things like financial commitments. Like if I don't do my habits, then I'll give X amount to someone, or making public declarations on social media, like this is what I'm going to do. And if I don't do it, then I have to post that I haven't done it and that I failed. And things like that mean I'm tipping the scales in my favor so that I have more on the line if I don't follow through, if I fail. You can also use things like forfeits and stuff, if you don't do certain things, or like you can get creative with it, but the idea is to find a way to bind your future self so that you just don't have a choice but to do the thing. All right. So this is a good philosophy to incorporate if you're finding you're getting distracted a lot and you need to change your habits. Just find a way to bind yourself in the future. And so with that in mind, this is it. We're now on to the final step, stage 5, and that is to execute. That's to do the work. And there's 2 things that I will say for this step, which I think are super important. Number 1 is at the start of every single week, where you pick a day, pick a time, and this becomes your most important event for the week, right? This is the non-negotiable. This is the one that no matter what is happening in your life, you always stick to this. And that is to plan your week ahead. Whether it's the same time on Sunday, Saturday, Friday night, doesn't matter. Just pick a time. Pick what works for you, pick what fits in with your schedule, but pick something that no matter what, under any circumstances, you are doing this. Because if you don't plan your week ahead, you're just going to end up doing the same stuff that you've always done. Your week will look as it looks now. You have to plan your week ahead, and you have to put structures in place that mean that you will make these changes, do these changes, and follow through. And it all starts every week with planning that week. All right, so pick the date, pick the time, pick that event, and every single week you plan the week ahead. You schedule everything in and you make sure that you know what you're doing that week. And then the second thing as well is at the end of every week, and you probably do this at the same time, but at the end of every week, you review how the previous week went. You look at what didn't you manage to achieve, why didn't you manage to achieve it, and what changes can you put in place for next week that are going to enable you to be more effective, that are going to minimize those distractions, that are going to make sure you follow through on what you said you were going to follow through on. Okay, so it's those 2 things. When you're executing, you've got to keep course correcting, and your way of course correcting and making sure that you're on track, making sure that you're doing the right work, and making sure that you're constantly learning from mistakes and failures and things along the way, it is to review your week and plan your week. Every single week, you've got to do those 2 things. Okay, so with all of that being said, that's it. That's the whole process to go through from recovering from rock bottom. As I say, now it's just about doing the work. You've got to just follow through on your plan. And by the way, the plan is not necessarily finite. It's going to evolve, it's going to adapt, it's going to change. You're going to have breakthroughs that are going to mean new goals come into play. And so it's always worth doing a review maybe every month or every quarter or something, at least probably every quarter, bare minimum, but every month is going to be a good time frame to do it. But do a review of your plan, your 100,000 foot overview, and your goals. Okay, look at whether everything is still relevant. Be ruthless to eliminate things that are not relevant. You want this to be streamlined and focused. Less is better. okay? But just cull the stuff that is not relevant anymore. And when new goals and new things come into your life that you want to focus on, make sure you incorporate those into your plan. And then make sure you plan those into your week, every single week when you do your weekly review. Okay, so hopefully this has been valuable. I genuinely, sincerely hope that if you are in a similar position that I'm in right now, if you're at rock bottom in your life and you've got to the end of this video series, I hope this has been valuable. Really do. If you feel that there's anything else you'd like me to elaborate on, anything, challenges that have been coming up for you, as you've been going through this, I would love to hear. So comment below, like this video and maybe all the others as well if you've enjoyed them. So with all of that being said, thank you very much. I really appreciate you watching this far through. And as I say, hope it's been valuable. Best of luck on your journey and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.